I'm Algenon Cash, and you're locked in. Thank you for joining me yet for another exciting conversation. We just went through a round of graduations, and I know my daughter just graduated high school. So many of you in my audience, you maybe had small children that just went to one grade to the next, or maybe you had a high school student that is heading off to college, or maybe you actually had someone that's leaving college and going out into the real world. But no matter how you look at it, the environment they just went through was way different because of this whole COVID pandemic. And when I was at my daughter's graduation here recently, I had an opportunity to hear a speech from the senior class president at Parkland High School. And as I was listening to the speech, I kept thinking to myself, "Man, this young lady is so sharp and bright. Who is this person?" And I happened to look down at the agenda. And was looking at the program agenda and saw that it was Micah Eustache, who I happen to know her parents very, very well. And she is incredibly smart and she is really gifted. And she gave such a great and powerful speech at the Parkland High School graduation that I had to invite her here to lock in with us so she could share some insight. Micah, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mr. Algenon?
I'm doing great, and I know your mom was probably sitting close by, but don't call me Mr. Algernon. You can just call me Algernon for the show for sure.
Okay.
That'll be more than fine. We're not going to be too formal, but I was really I really enjoyed your speech at the Parkland High School graduation, and as I stated, as I was listening to you, I said, who is this young lady? She sounds so gifted. And then once I realized who it was, I said, I know, yeah, she is very, very gifted. What inspired your speech? And talk a little bit about the gravity, the weight that you must have felt being senior class president, going through a COVID high school environment.
Absolutely. The last year has been incredibly difficult, as it has been for several students in the county, in the US, the whole entire world. We have been using this pandemic as a way to kind of take a minute and kind of understand what place we are, look at the environment, the social climate. I think what particularly inspired my speech was definitely the Black Lives Matter movement. As we saw last year with the death of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, this kind of just inspired me. I went to several protests last year. I sang at a few. It just, the moment and the feeling from the crowd had inspired me and made me feel as though this was a minute to take time and really use my voice as a call to action for the students, especially those of color. As I mentioned at the end of my speech, I had told the students of color specifically that we know our history in this country and it's time to take steps forward to make them proud and honor them. And that's exactly what I hope I was doing in my speech, was encouraging. And even to the other students, not of color, we use this time as a pandemic, we pioneered through it, through Zoom classes, Microsoft Teams, different platforms where we had to use our home as our environment of learning and just kind of communicating with each other. It was extremely difficult, but we pioneered through it, and I'm proud of all of us.
I'm proud of you all as well, including my daughter, who also got through that long process. For my daughter and I think even for you, for what I know about you, Micah, you're extremely active in school. You're participating in a lot of extracurricular activities. Got a lot of friends, people around the school. I'm sure look up to you and see you as a leader. I watched my own daughter go through a few different cycles during her senior year. I think she started out obviously feeling pretty excited. That was before we knew what the impact of COVID would have. And then I watched her probably lose a lot of excitement, and many of the things that she enjoyed doing and had fun doing, um, just was no longer excited
Yeah,
about even participating or being active at all.
right.
Someone like you who is just as active, has just as much going on in terms of school. How did you keep yourself motivated that last year?
I'm going to be extremely honest. During my speech, I mentioned that I had lost most of my motivation throughout the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I was active in pageantry, where I was a part of the veteran community fundraising events through my platform, Veterans in Peace. I had been a part of school programs, clubs, organizations, and the pandemic just really made me feel unmotivated, made me feel as though I needed to take more time on my mental health. And this ended in me actually taking a break from pageantry right now, and from my platform, because I felt as though I needed to take time for myself and really understand where I was. Because it made all of us nervous, as you were saying with your daughter. It made us all feel nervous and unsure about our future because we had no idea where the world was going. Um, but despite this, I took time to really use my family and my circle of friends. I really looked to them, and they encouraged me to do this, and even complete the college application process. And now I'm attending a great school, which is Wellesley College, this fall, and I'm so excited. So I used, I guess, my lack of motivation to really take time to spend with my family and my friends, and just my village of my circle, my school. They really encouraged me to help me take steps and forwards for my future.
I think what you just said was very profound, and may be good advice, not just for other high school students and college level students like yourself, but good advice for some adults, quite frankly, that are listening to the show today. I'm constantly trying to tell folks you have to stay locked in.
Right.
That's what the whole locked in movement, the whole locked in philosophy is about. Things won't always go your way. It won't be
Absolutely.
always a straight line. A lot of times it's more of a zigzag kind of line. If you take a trip from North Carolina to California, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks, a lot of obstacles, a lot of stop signs, a lot of everything. But you have to stay focused on your goals and your objectives and where you're trying to get to, and just stay locked in on whatever
Right.
that is. So I'm happy to hear. I want my audience to listen closely to this young lady because she is locked in. She's giving you some really good gems of wisdom here. You mentioned in your speech, and I just heard you mention it again. You talk about the support of your family and those you call it the village around you. I'm often someone who says that to be successful, you need three things. You've got to you got to work hard. You got to have self discipline, meaning that you got to be willing to make some decisions and do some things when other people just for whatever reason can't seem to decide to do it. But you also have to have relationships.
Right.
Oftentimes you learn in life it's not what you know, but it's who you know. Speak to the power of relationships over the last 4 years of your high school career, not just the relationship, the great relationship I know you have with your parents, but also maybe your peers at Parkland.
Right. Even outside of Parkland, I started pageantry about 2, 3 years ago. And I started with the Taste of Charlotte Festival pageant, attached to the Miss America organization. And at first, when I joined pageantry, I was very timid, I was very shy. But throughout this process of with my pageant coordinators and my teachers and those who helped me along the way, they taught me how to build connections, how to reach out to people, even for help. I think an extremely important lesson is it's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to build a foundation of connections and relationships with people, to really build your future. So throughout this, I felt confident enough to approach people for help. Um, and this led to me feeling more confident even in my school community. With Parkland, I was able just to run for student class president. I felt comfortable enough to reach out to my peers, even though this was not something that I would have done about 2, 3 years ago. I felt comfortable enough to reach out to people who knew certain groups at Parkland that I may have not had a personal connection with. So I was able to build those relationships and a foundation with different students and friends, groups I had never met before. I was able to talk to them about, our what were our experiences throughout the pandemic. I was able to build a connection, and I think this really did help me push throughout my speech because I was nervous at first. This was the first time I had seen all of our classmates together in one area in a really, really long time. So I was able to feel a personal connection throughout my speech, which really helped me become less nervous. I was more calm at the end. I was able to look them in the eye. And I knew that they felt my speech and I felt it back, and I was able to build a connection with them in the audience. And I'm so glad that Park was my school, and I really did enjoy my time there.
Yeah, if someone wanted to see the speech, do you have it posted somewhere? Do you have a website or?
Yes. I have a Micah Sings Instagram account, which is my business page. I will post it actually after this. I know that my mom has posted it for her friends who weren't able to join in on the graduating ceremony. But I will definitely post it for sure on my Instagram page. So make sure to check out Micah Sings on Instagram.
Yeah, I encourage my audience to go do that. Again, this is a very young lady who is speaking profoundly, in my opinion, and has a lot of wisdom at a very young age. And we can learn from anyone, as I try to remind folks. You can learn anything from anyone. So make sure you go check out that speech. You know, Micah, I've heard you say numerous times, you've talked about the community, your community work, your community involvement. It doesn't sound like you're someone who spent the last 4 years at Parkland just trying to do well inside the classroom, or even trying to just do well on the school campus. You've also tried to do well in our backyard here in the community. Why is the community involvement so important to you? You could be spending your Saturdays on TikTok making dance compilations with your friends. Why are you out here trying to save the world?
Don't get me wrong, I do have my days where I am on TikTok and very active. But outside of just social media, um, I feel as though community involvement is my real passion. Even at a young age, my mom and I, my family and I, we would go out and into our community. She taught me that community involvement and helping other people is really important. It's about kindness. It's about reaching out to those who don't have opportunities or aren't afforded opportunities. Um, and it's not something that I really understood until the pandemic. When I saw how many people were struggling, losing their jobs, how many people were sick. Even my own mother was sick with COVID twice. So I saw how much she struggled, and I couldn't imagine how many other people were struggling with no job, no money, and a larger family than I have. I know how difficult it was, but I learned through the pandemic that my time in the community has been a true passion of mine. I think what really pulled me to, I think, activism and service was seeing how people were grateful for even a little ounce of help, a little ounce of conversation. I've been told, even when singing at church, that I really make a difference and I really pull people and pull an emotion from them. And I think that that awarding feeling, it just feels amazing. But even past how I feel about certain things, I know that at the end of the day, I'm helping someone even have a better day than they had yesterday. I think it's about really making a difference day by day, not necessarily for a long time, but even for a short amount of time, you can make someone's day or make a difference. And that is what I live by every single day.
Well, Micah, you are certainly locked in. I always say the one of the best ways to boost your own self-esteem and self-confidence is to go out and give back, to spend time in the community, to see how
Yes.
other people may be doing or not doing as well as you might be doing in general. So I think you're on the right path, and I always tell people it's just not good enough to sit here in town and do well and make money and have great experiences,
Right.
but not use some of your time and your talent to try to create those opportunities for other people. And I'm
Right.
so happy to see that you've learned that lesson at such an early age. And you know, hopefully, as you get into college, you share some of these lessons with a lot of other young folks in the next generation who needs to learn it, and you all keep passing that along. But it sounds like you are going to be wildly successful if you stay on the path that you're on. We're all praying for you, because we do
Thank
care so
you.
much about both your parents, and just love them to death. And we want to see you be wildly successful, which I think you will be as long as you keep doing what you're doing. Tell my audience, Micah, it's 5 years down the road. Where can we find you? What are you doing when you get done at Wellesley?
After Wellesley is most definitely at the moment, it's law school. I hope to go into family law. And if I'm not doing law, then I'm doing journalism with politics. Politics is my speed. I love to write, I love to communicate. And I think that both of these directions are definitely in my future. So hopefully, I'll still be maybe at Yale. That's the goal after Wellesley, but we'll see where I am in 5 years. But also helping out in the community as always.
That's all. Can I predict a Eustache and Eustache attorneys at law at some point, or
I don't
no?
know
Yeah.
about that. I don't know if I'll be back in Winston. We'll
Oh,
see.
okay, okay, all right, all right. And it's funny to hear you talk about politics, because your dad and I talk about politics all the time. But something tells me your politics and his politics might be a bit different.
Very different.
And so that's going to be one of my next shows. I am going to
Very.
get your dad, myself. I might even invite my daughter and you, and we're going to have a little bit of roundtable discussion and just see how different the politics are from one generation to the next. But thank you so much for making time to lock in with me. To my audience, if you've just now been listening and joining us, you've been listening to the voice of Micah Eustache. She is the senior class president at Parkland High School. She just graduated high school. She just gave a riveting speech at their high school graduation. She's now off to Wellesley. And who knows, down the road, you may be calling on her to be your attorney. Micah, give them the website one more time so they can find you.
Absolutely. Micah Sings on Instagram. That's where you can find me, what I'm doing, where I'm singing next. Catch me at the Winston-Salem Open this August. And thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, Algenon, for inviting me.
And until next time, y'all stay locked in.